Hello and welcome to our first lesson. In this lesson, we'll learn about some of the features of our brain, a strategy to hack our brains so that we'll gain more agency over our lives, and you'll have the opportunity to set a learning intention and create a plan of action to achieve it. To begin, think about a skill or an attitude you'd like to develop. Perhaps there's a new language, instrument, or a sport you'd like to learn. Perhaps a new attitude. Maybe you'd like to be less fearful of public speaking, more patient, more assertive, or maybe a little calmer. Maybe there's something you've always wanted to learn, but have put it off for a while. Take a moment to think of that, jot it down somewhere. If you'd like to press pause for a moment, do so now. Not only is the human brain responsible for all of our bodily functions, it's also the organ for human empowerment. The brain contains about 100 billion neurons and about 100 trillion connections between the neurons. How they are distributed and connected determines one's brain functions. Some of these functions can be observed in the skills, talents, and behaviors we display and express. The connections represent our various skill sets, habits, and personalities, and vary from person to person and even change throughout each person's lifetime. Essentially, the neurons that fire together wire together, and this wiring is based on our personal thinking and behavioral habits, along with the environments in which we practice them in. Our wiring is formed and reinforced both knowingly and unknowingly. Our brain's wiring is based on our practices. And every waking moment, we are practicing something. And what we practice the most becomes the most strengthened neural pathways. This is why awareness and intentional practice are important in daily routines. The brain itself is also wired in a particular way. It's wired to change so that we can continue to learn and problem solve throughout our lives. The term that describes this is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity describes how the brain has plasticity, which means it changes in size, shape, and connections throughout a lifetime. Neuroplasticity demonstrates that humans are indeed capable of learning new habits, attitudes, and skills. Studies on human attention show that we are not paying attention to what we're doing about 47% of the time. This means that we spend nearly half of our waking lives unaware of what we are doing. Therefore, through awareness and intention, we can strengthen the neural pathways that best serve us and our community. There are also some key parts of our brain to be aware of. For now, we'll keep it simple by focusing on the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the front center part of your brain, and it's responsible for our most complex types of thinking and responding, such as reasoning, problem solving, comprehension, impulse control, creativity, perseverance, and even our sense of morality. It's also worth noting that the prefrontal cortex isn't fully online until around the age of 25. Another important part of the brain is the hippocampus. This part has a major role in learning and memory. And finally is the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for our fight, flight, or freeze reaction whenever we feel threatened or scared. When the amygdala is activated, the reasoning, thinking part of our brain is turned off, and the stress hormone cortisol is released to give our bodies the boost it needs for surviving that moment. While this feature of our brain is responsible for detecting threats and keeping us alive, it also detects other so-called threats, like someone posting something online that we disagree with, maybe someone cutting in line, maybe someone rooting for a sport team that rivals your favorite sports team, and other trivial stressors. Too much released cortisol can damage the hippocampus, thus impairing learning and memory. Frequently releasing cortisol in the bloodstream throughout one's life contributes to multiple diseases and negative physical and mental health outcomes. The next time you notice yourself getting triggered by something that is not an immediate threat to your physical safety, there are some simple steps you can take to prevent your amygdala from hijacking your thinking brain and secreting unnecessary cortisol into your brain and bloodstream. Simply be still for a moment, take at least 1 to 3 breaths, inhale to the count of 4, and exhale to the count of 8. Then notice your thoughts and your physical sensations. And finally, proceed in a way that will benefit you and those around you. Now let's go back to the intention you set earlier. Either on the printed out path worksheet located in the description of this video or on a plain sheet of paper, rewrite your intention at the top. These are the prompts to help you create a plan of action to achieve your set intention. The P stands for purpose. Why is the intention you set important to you? How does that intention highlight and develop your best self? And how does it help you serve you and your community? The A stands for assets. What are some of your existing strengths, knowledge, skills, and attitude that you can utilize to meet this intention? What relationships will be helpful and supportive to you along the way? And what resources can you access to assist you? What knowledge, skills, and attitude will be helpful to learn and seek out? The T stands for time. What is your set time frame? And what are some checkpoint dates? Now feel free to pause the video and complete the P, A, and T sections of your worksheet or your paper. After completing the P, A, and T, keep this sheet in a place where you'll see it many times throughout your day so that it'll be a reminder of what you're working towards. The H in PATH stands for how's it going regarding your intention. Learning something new and persevering through it can be challenging, so it's important to periodically reflect on your learning process so that you can make the necessary adjustments. Periodically check in on your process by asking yourself, how's it going? And then reflect with the following questions. Describe any efforts in creating your pathway. What is going well, and how can it continue to go well? What within your scope of influence would be helpful? What's been challenging, and what strategies can be used? In the following 3 lessons, we'll discuss the 3 attitudes and pathways of practice of empowered humanity theory. Cultivating these attitudes and practices will assist you as you work towards your intention set here and future aims and intentions. The first attitude is a value-centered identity, and it's strengthened by engaging in practices that build awareness and equanimity. The second is a dignity lens, which is strengthened by practices that celebrate our common humanity. And finally, prioritizing mindsets of inquiry and compassion by engaging in practices that build kindness and compassion for self and others. We'll close with a quote from Aristotle. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Go forward, be great, and be well.